Good day, welcome to Endurance Room. Today we're taking a look at the new Ratnik shelter. Ratnik is Russian for warrior, and it's their new combat program for their infantry, and this shelter is part of their equipment. It replaces my all-time favorite piece of military surplus gear, the plash palatka. I'm not saying it's replacing this for me. I don't see this ever phasing out of my gear, but this is their new modern equivalent. So if you're familiar with the plash, this is a poncho slash tent or shelter half. You can combine multiples together and make pretty elaborate configurations. The plash is just under 6 foot square, and the Ratnik shelter is a little bit narrower but longer. It's about 5 feet by 9 feet in length and roughly the same weight as the plash palatka. So it's pretty interesting. So I just got this the other day. I'm not going to do a full review on it, but I just kind of want to take it out and let you guys get a good look at it. There's a few photos online, but not a ton, and not a ton of information on it. It comes with its own carrying case that's built into the tarp. You just unzip. Tarp is made out of this heavy-duty ripstop material. I'm going to find a spot to lay both of these out so you can get a good idea of the size comparison. So here we have it all laid out. It's quite a bit bigger. It's a pixelated digital camo known as EMR. It's similar to the Marine Corps MARPAC camouflage. I had it out the other night and went through a number of shelter configurations with it. I was pretty impressed. The stock configuration is a small A-frame, and I was able to set that up in a couple minutes and then set up a lean-to configuration and like a half teepee style configuration that was pretty cool. There's no grommet holes in the corner of the shelter, but there are these webbing loops, and they run along the perimeter all the way around it. So you got quite a number of connection points. There's also these little pockets, Velcro closure, and on the inside you've got guy lines around the perimeter, which is awesome. The guy lines are really cool. It gives you a lot of options for different setups. I was able to run through a number the other day when I opened it up. I went through the A-frame, a different lean-to configuration, and like a half teepee. It was almost like a little buck break. He sees me now. So as I was saying, we've got these guy lines around the perimeter of the tarp. So you're able to set up shelters without even hooking up a ridge line. On the underside of the shelter, you've got a number of carrying handles. And this is so you can fold it in half and use it as a stretcher. There's also a number of pockets, so you can insert a stake and set up different shelter configurations. The shelter has its own carrying case built right into the tarp. You just fold it up and it fits into the case nice and neat and stows away. The case is adequately sized. I don't have any problems rolling it up and fitting into the case, which you often find with a lot of gear these days. So that's really nice. There's even room for, say a small shelter kit. If you want to throw some extra cordage or some tent stakes in there, there's still more room, which is really cool. Just so you guys can get a perspective on the size of the tarp, I'm going to lay down on top of it. I'm 6'2". There's room for me and my gear and another person, no problem. My plan is to use it for a shelter, but you could also use it for a ground sheet if you wanted to use a larger tarp. You could also use it to cover up your sleeping bag or your bivvy. Check this out. Let me find some stakes and I'll set up a quick shelter. So real quick, just a basic lean-to setup right next to the fire. I've got a 5x7 space blanket. I use 2 sticks from the forest floor as poles. I just cut them to length. I use the building guy lines at the top 2 corners to lash it down. At the back of the shelter, I used 2 stakes in the webbing loops, and then a 3rd stake in the middle using one of the guy lines again, which is really nice because it has the effect of pulling the back of the shelter up, giving you more space on the inside. Now granted, it's just a lean-to setup, but what's cool about it is that I'm able to set this up in this rocky channel without any trees for a ridge line, which is pretty sweet. I forgot to mention earlier, along one side of the shelter are these D-rings, and on the other side are some webbing strips that you're able to run through the D-rings and connect it together. So if you wanted to set up a stretcher, you would just fold it in half, and the D-rings and the webbing would lock it in place, and you'd have, you know, you'd have a really strong stretcher to carry your battle buddy out. But these also allow you to connect multiple shelters together to create larger, more complex structures. Similar to the plash palatka, really cool. I also like that it gives you this little overhang. So on the lean-to, we've got a little bit of a rain fly. It's not much, but I'll take it. So I'm about out of time today. This is just a quick look at it. This is just the basics of this thing. I promise I'm going to be diving into it. I've already set up a number of other designs with it, and I'm excited. I don't see it replacing the plash palatka. I'm still going to be carrying one with me, but this is pretty cool. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed. If you're looking for one, check out Russian Cold Camo. They're a small family-owned company in the US, and they ship for free. They've got plash palatkas, Gorkas, a bunch of cool gear. Check them out. There's a lot of possibilities here. I promise to do a more thorough review after I spend some time with it, but I just want to give you a quick overview today and show you the basic features. So if you got any questions, let me know down below, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Cheers.